Welcome everyone to another CTC software webinar. My name is Chris Bircher, Director of Technical Services here at CTC, and today we are going to generate some residential unit summaries using a couple of tools from the BIM project suite in Spreadsheet Link and Schedule Excel. So I'm going to show you how to set it up, how to run through the process, and how to put together basically a schedule in Excel and that you can't really format in Revit and bring it back into Revit. But before we begin, two things I want to bring up. The first one is I encourage everyone to ask questions using the questions panel within the GoTo app. I will be monitoring those and will be answering them as I see them in line as it makes sense. And if I miss it, I apologize, but I'll make sure to pick it up at the end. And if you're watching the recorded version on our YouTube channel and you have questions, post a comment. We monitor the comments and we will be sure to answer and reply to your comment as soon as we possibly can. Now we'll get started. Now, for those of you that have been using Revit for some time, we all know Revit does a great job at putting together a schedule and quantifying elements in a schedule. You can get all your totals. You can even do some basic formulas and enhance those values. But you can't always customize the formatting very well, and getting more powerful formulas put in place takes a little bit more time, right? And it's harder to put together. It's harder to do, and in some cases, Revit just can't do it. Now, Excel can do it. So if we can take our data from Revit, get it into an Excel document, get it into and let the Excel do the math for me, we can bring it back into our Revit project and either generate a scheduled view so that it looks like a schedule that came out of Revit, or generate a drafting view. Wouldn't that be awesome? Well, if you're familiar with our tools, you know that is awesome, and it can be done. So with Spreadsheet Link and Schedule Excel, I'm going to show you how you can do that today. Take our Revit room data out of Revit into Excel. We'll put together some formulas to give us unit totals and average areas and total units formatted in a way that we can't normally get in Revit. Then use Schedule Excel to bring it back in and use it for printing on a sheet. So today I'm going to show you how to do all of that. So you should be able to do this. How to use Spreadsheet Link to extract the values to Excel. That'll be the first thing we go over. The second piece will be how to generate the formulas and use what Excel functions can be used to get the numbers that we want in this case. And there's about 4, I believe, that we used for this example. And then we're going to build a template for this so that you can use it on other projects. Doesn't matter, as long as it has similar formatting as far as room names go and level names, you'll be able to use it on other jobs. And then I'll show you how to bring the Excel data with the calculations back into your Revit projects so that you can print those as part of your document set without having to do any funky workflows using AutoCAD and data extractions and whatnot. And I'm just going to show you, I don't do PowerPoints, so we'll just jump right into it. Now, so let me pull up my Revit project. So just to kind of give you an overview of what I've done in Revit, which isn't much. So I've got the standard old school traditional Revit sample model. And what we've done is I've added a bunch of rooms and I've labeled these rooms accordingly. So I've got Studio 1, Studio 2, Studio 3. I've got 2-bedroom A, B, and C. I've got 1-bedroom A, B, and C, and so on. And it's kind of formatted in that way. And then we've got some common spaces that I don't really care about as much for this. And I've done that on the first floor, the second floor, and the third floor, right? And so there's a fair amount of rooms in use here. The part that next part of this is the level names and how those are labeled and formatted. Whatever you use for the level name and or the room name, remember what those are, because we need to use those in this spreadsheet. And that's how we build some of these lookups, and you'll see what I mean when we get there. So take note, we've got 01 entry level, 02 floor, 03 floor, right? That's where the rooms are. I need to remember that for my spreadsheet. Then in the spreadsheet, in Excel, since this is where most of the work is going to happen today, I need to open up this one. So this is the spreadsheet that I want to use for this exercise. And it's just a nice little table, effectively, that we manually put together. So I've typed in names for the cells, and right now there isn't a single formula in here. It's all empty, and we're going to do the formulas together. But effectively, what I'm going to be doing is stitching this together with a spreadsheet link export, so that I can use Spreadsheet Link Express to automatically kick these data values out to a spreadsheet and let it do the math automatically. Then we'll use Schedule Excel here to bring it all back in. So I'm just going to show you how this works. So I'm going to skip Spreadsheet Link altogether. We're just going to go right to Spreadsheet Link Express, because I'm going to load up my template for this. And you get a little dialog box like this. You go browse for the settings file that you want to use. So I'm going to use the settings file here, my residential unit summary settings. I'm going to select it. I'm going to click apply. And it's now taking the spreadsheet that I showed you, the original one. It's exporting all the rooms, combining them all together into one spreadsheet, and saving that document where I told it to save. I'll explain this message in a second. There is a secondary workflow that can be baked into this if we wanted to. So I'll explain that in a moment when we do the setup. It's not an error, it's just a message. Now I'm gonna go to my folder explorer here. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. And it just kicked out this file right here. And I know that because of the date timestamp just now. And I'm gonna open it up for you so you can see that, oh, that's not the right one. This one. So it created a file that has my rooms tab. It's got my unit summary. My unit summary is populated with some of the values that are in my Revit project right now, and it's done all the calculations for me. And you can see I've got some various calculations here and here and here. So it's doing the work for me. Now I can use Schedule Excel, and you only really need to open it to validate that you're getting the functions to work. Schedule Excel, now I can turn around and import that back in to a schedule or a drafting view and run with it. So I'm going to go grab that file. I only want to import the unit summary tab. Go to my graphic options and make sure that those are set the way I want to see them. They are, because I've done this before. Unit summary. I'm going to hit OK. I'm using a schedule view, as you can see here. And now I have a schedule in my project that can be put on a new sheet. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of one extra step of cleanup here on that file, because it's got the print area got messed up, which is why I have a nice little gap here on this particular one. So I'm going to show you how to fix that too. But there you have it. So it did all the work for me. Pretty slick. And now I can put this on a sheet next to my finished plans or a unit plan matrix, and continue on from there. So now I'm going to undo this. We're going to undo the whole thing. Going back, no more schedule. And now I'm going to show you how to do it from scratch. Let's switch back to my floor plan here. And here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a spreadsheet. Okay. So, and if, as you remember, I've already got the original the document that I want to use for this. So where did I put it? This one. right? So I've got the schedule. This is the Excel file that I want to use for this exercise. So in Spreadsheet link, I'm going to set up the rooms tab, because in case you missed it, I don't have a rooms tab in that other document. So we got to build that. So in Spreadsheet link, I'm going to come to rooms here and add that to this kind of middle column. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and tell it which properties that I want to include on this tab. The only ones we need for this are name, level, and area. That's all we're using for this exercise. The next piece to this that we have to do before we save our setup is we need to tell Spreadsheet link not to include unit symbols. If we included the square foot unit symbol as part of our workflow, all of the formulas are going to fail, because it effectively, these cells turn into text cells because of that SF in Excel, and then I can't do any calculations with that. So if I check this hide unit symbol box down here, all of the square foot symbols disappear, and now I can use these values inside of functions and formulas within Excel to do the rest of the work. Okay, so that's a key piece to this. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up the save. So I'm going to go ahead and do my save settings. And right out of the gate, I'm going to do an advanced save. And what this advanced save will do is it's allowing me to specify an Excel document as my template worksheet. So we can go ahead and browse to any document here. So this is the original one that I want to start with. I can browse to this one, click open, and then specify how I want it, what I want the output or the auto-saved version of this to be. So if you don't want to overwrite the original, you don't have to. You can if you choose to, right? So if you're copying the data structure from one project to another project, so that no one potentially upsets the source control information, you can do all of that and then just use the override setup. You don't have to, though. I like just create a new spreadsheet each time. And that way you can also maintain a historical data in case things are in flux or changing based off the design or based off owner input. And then you specify where you want the document to save. Okay, so I can go back here. I'm just going to go ahead and save it to my webinar folder here for this one. All right, and I'm going to hit save. And now we can give our settings file a name. And this is the actual settings, and this is what you'll use to run the job as a whole. So I'm going to call this residential unit summary CDB SLE. I don't want to. So now I've saved my settings. And for the moment, we can close these. Got no need for them right now. What I want to do now is run the Spreadsheet Link Express piece. And here's why. I want to run the setup that I just made to generate the combined tabbed file. So I'm going to grab the settings that I just picked, and I'm going to run that. I'm going to get a message saying that it can't, about the no imports found, and that's okay. So Spreadsheet Link Express has a two-part workflow built into it. One is to do the output, which is what we are setting up for today. The second part is to configure an import or an input. We have the ability in Spreadsheet Link to manipulate data in those spreadsheet and a lot of those parameter fields, and then update a Revit model with that. In this case, I'm not actually updating a model with any of those data values, not actually changing any of that stuff as far as the rooms go. So I'm technically not importing anything, and it's telling me that that it didn't find the import options. That's because they don't exist. So this is just a benign message in this case. You don't have to worry about it. If it's bothersome, or you set something like this up for your firm or your users, and they're asking a lot of questions about why am I getting this message, we can actually bypass this and put an import tab into the workflow so that that part of the message doesn't appear. So here is the spreadsheet that we exported. It's giving me all the rooms and what levels they're on and their area, minus the unit symbol. The unit summary tab still blank and has the formatted stuff that I put in there, but the rest of it's still blank, and that's okay. It's supposed to be blank at this point. So what I can do is this. Now we can start putting in the formulas that we need to do the job. I've got a little document here that explains the formulas that we're using and examples of each formula. So there's a couple of different ones that we're using. Count ifs, and that's if with the S at the end. When you're using sum ifs, if and sum. Those are the four kind of core functions that we're using here. So the count ifs function, what it's effectively doing is it's finding all of the rooms on a particular level that have the same name and quantifying that for you, and then inputting that value into a cell. So if I were to copy paste this into this cell, or manually type this into this cell here, B7 for Studio 1 on the 01 entry level, it's going to tell me how many studios are on that level. And then, right, so I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to copy. First, I'm going to not make this bold. I'm just going to copy it and paste it into this cell and hit enter. And the nice part about doing it like this is it's already populating some of the information for me. It's already told me I got one. And that's because it's looking at the rooms tab. So here's how it's set up. So in Excel, you always do the function like this. And then depending on the function, you got to put in some parentheses and then define the set. So what we're telling this to do is, with this count ifs function, quickly go to the rooms tab, which is this guy down here, which is why I wanted to combine them first, and search column C for, which is the room name tab. So it's telling us search column C and all of column D for rooms that match. And yeah, that's right. Oops. I'm clicking too much. For rooms that match, and I already updated it. Look at that. And let me put that back. And this should say 7, not 8, 7. And insert the information into A7 based off that name here. Okay. Now, we can just kind of keep doing this. So I can take this now and drag it down like this. And if it finds that there are more Studio 1s on the second floor or on the third floor, or and this is the B5 here is Studio 1. So it's search column C for Studio 1, and based on the level, give me the total. So there's 2 on level 1, 1 on level 2, 2 on level 3. Okay. Now, when you paste these values in here like this, you can press and drag down, and Excel will do an auto copy. And as you do that, it copies the information and updates the cells accordingly. So it started out as A7, but this one's showing A9, and this one should be showing A8, and it does. So it's updating for me, and that's another one of those little functional benefits of doing this in Excel. And then theoretically, what I can do is press and drag this all the way across to here and effectively copy and update that function and formula for all the different cells. And now this is going to show me C5 for find Studio 2 or D5, right? So it's knowing where to look for the rooms that it's using based off these two fields right here. Now, I can do the same thing here then. We'll drag that all across. Do the same thing for this one and drag that all across. It messed up my formatting a little bit. I don't, as far as the appearance goes, I don't care that much. But if you did, you can go into the format cells, go to the border, pick the line weight, and where it needs to show up, hit OK. It'll update it then. But a couple of my coworkers would care more than I do, so I'm just going to update a couple and call it a day. So that's what the count ifs formula is doing. But that's only some of the data. There's a lot more that I need to get my hands on here. So I'm going to pull up the next one, which is the sum ifs. And what the sum ifs is doing for us in this case is it's going to help us find the total area for the rooms that have the same name, and put that there, here, this one right there. And so it's effectively doing, take the sum ifs function, search the rooms tab based off column E, which I believe was the levels. I'm sorry, no, it's not. That's the area. So it's go through the area, and then, oops, let me pull that back up. And then give me all of only the room names that match that room, and give me the grand total of that. So I'm going to grab this formula, get rid of the boldness, so I don't want that to translate into my Excel file, and I can paste that here and hit enter. So it's already doing the math for me. So what we could do though is go check this out. So I've got 5 Studio ones. Theoretically, I could do the math right now and find out what those are. So we got 454 plus 419, so that's 873, and there's a couple more. Here's another one, another 419. So we're at 12 something, almost 13. And there was a couple more. Yep, there's a 640. I missed one, and a 650. So plus another 12. Oops. Which gives me, yeah, there you go. So, so it's getting in. My math was a little rounded there, as you can tell, but it's coming up with the information for me. So now I can take this formula, drag it all to the side here like this, so it fills out the rest of the rows or rest of the columns. And again, I screwed up my formatting here. So if it's a thing, fix it. And actually, I think it was this one. Not quite that one, but again, I'm okay with what I'm doing here. The next formula that we're going to work with here, if I go back to my Word document, is just a standard if statement. So if a statement is true, do what I tell it to, which is this. If this is true, do this. So if B12 equals 0, because no units exist, then put in 0, which means there is no average to compute, right? But if that's false because there's a number here, then do this formula, which is a round down of B13 divided by B12. So take the total area divided by the total units to give me the average area for that particular unit type. So that's what we're doing here in this case. So it's just a pretty simple if-then statement with a round down function baked into it, which is kind of clever. So I'm going to put that into my average area field, and it's not refreshing. Oh, I don't have total units. So it's doing exactly what we told it to do because I haven't totaled that up yet. So B12 equals 0. So then give me 0. So that's exactly what it's doing. Makes perfect sense. So because that's working, I'm just going to shoot that across here real quick. And now we're going to insert our total units formula, which is just a basic sum, right? This, sum cell plus cell, right? What is it? So the sum value is pretty simple, although I think mine's wrong, but that's okay. Yep, I did wrong. There's two sums used twice. This sum is actually the one for over here. So it's totaling up this value, B8 through M8. So it's giving me all the total of all the units on the second floor, right? Or the third floor, or if I change this correctly, because we need to, the first floor, okay? But it's the wrong formula for this. So what I need to do here, and here's how you can build this out manually if you choose to. You can type in equals sum, open parentheses, grab the cells that need to be a part of that and close it. Hit enter, and it does the math for you. It tells you got 5. And then I can drag this all the way across like so, and it starts adding them up for you, right? So now I have 13, I've got 7, 1, 1, 3. So you get the idea, and then effectively, at the end of the day, if you choose to use these ones, again, we have another sum field here to get the total units this way or the total units this way. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the same set of numbers. So I can just type sum in here. And do it this way if you'd like. And this is just the sum of these values here. So equals sum, open, close, back up a step, grab all of these and hit enter. Okay, so now I've got total unit area for the entire, all of the units, total units, and then it's, the breakdown's a little bit different, but that's how you set it up. Then you would go back and update your formatting because I kind of destroyed mine while putting this all together, but that's not that's not the end of the world. I can turn cell borders off and then turn it back on. You have, the border options are plentiful in this page, in Excel. So again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time doing this because I don't want you to sit here and watch me format an Excel document. Not fair to you guys. So I'm just gonna switch to this one because this one's cleaner. And the next step, and actually before I switch to this one, the next thing you want to do, and this is what will make this cleaner, I suppose. I guess cleaner is not the right word. It gives you a clean slate, a fresh start for all projects. The Rooms tab does not need to be fully populated with all of this data. In reality, all you need here is row 1 so that it knows the properties, and then row 2. Row 1 and 2 tell you the property and the IDs that you need, and the category IDs or element IDs, if you will, right? So it knows we're working with rooms and the name, level, and area. Then we also need row 3 because we have to force feed a blank row here, a gap in between the headers and the data. And then a 4th row that is just blank, letting you know this is where we're starting. So in theory, we could take this, scroll down to the bottom here, and delete everything up to here. So I'm just going to hit Well, it's locked, so I have to do this first. There's a data button. Uh, it's not data, it's review. Unprotect. Password is the password, all lowercase. Super high tech. And I'm going to delete all this stuff. We're going to shift the cells up. And I clicked down then. And then for this one, we're just going to go ahead and hit clear the contents, and we end up with this. And now this file can be saved, and I can redefine my process. And this is what we use moving forward, right? So I guess I shouldn't say redefine, but we can use this as the template for all future projects. So we're going to set it up that way. So I'm going to do a quick save as, and when I browse to this, I have an option. I can either overwrite my original document so that this is now the original, and it has both the unit summary tab, and then it also has the rooms tab put together, right? It's already done. The original contains both. Or I can save it as a new file and use that moving forward. I just have to, if I do save it as a new file altogether, I do have to update my settings file to point to that new file. So I don't want to redo that again. So I'm just going to override my original and combine the two together. Yes. I must have it open. How about that? I do. So I'm going to close that then. Oh, Excel, you guys are crazy. So picky sometimes. Let's try that again. Close that. Thank you. All right. So now I'll do my save as. Oh, of course. Bear with me. We are almost done. Just got to get this last bit buttoned up here for you. And then, and then we should be all set. And then I'll show you the rest of it, which is very little, to be honest. Yes, let's replace that. Okay, so now we've done it. We're good. I'll come back and mess with my formatting at a later date, but I just want to make sure that we get the formulas. They're here, the functions. We're in good shape. We knew it worked when we had data. So now I'm going to turn this, I'm going to minimize this. We're going to come back here, and I'm going to use Spreadsheet. Oops, I didn't want to use Spreadsheet Link. I want to use Spreadsheet Link Express. We're just going to jump right into it. So I've got my settings file. My settings file was saved to look at that original document using, the residential unit summary original. So I'm just going to pick that. So these are the settings that we saved that look at that Excel file. I'm going to hit open, and we're just going to hit apply and let it go. And what it's going to do is it's going to save a new Excel document to the folder that I told it to, which is here. And here it is, 1233. That's us. We get the message about a worksheet not being imported because we didn't define an import process, and that's okay. And because there is an import process available, there's all your updated values are going to say none, and that's okay. We didn't import anything. We just did an export. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up just to make sure that we're good here. And here it is, and we are good. It did the math. It matched everything up. So again, what I want to show you is and I didn't really spend a lot of time on this, but I'm going to do it right now just to make sure it's covered. Level names, unit, room names, they must match what's in Revit. Otherwise, none of these formulas are going to work. Okay. If there's a misspelling somewhere in the Revit model, you got to misspell it here in the Excel file, and vice versa, right? You want to make sure that things match up to the letter. As soon as I take, say, Studio 1 and call it Studio 11 in this case, all of these numbers change. Studio 1's average changes, the number on the first level changes, like it's instantaneous. So if there's something amiss or something missing from the charts, your numbers aren't going to be accurate. So make sure you take the time to set this up accordingly, making sure that the levels match what's in Revit and that the room names in Revit match what you're putting here in your fields. Okay, I just want to point that out. One thing that I want to also point out about this is that Schedule Excel, when you're loading the Excel documents in, does care about the print area or what's visible on the screen. So if your document is a little older or been around for a while, that's okay. We want to define things and make sure that it's as clean as we possibly can. So our Schedule Excel specifically looks at print area. So you want to make sure that the print area is defined for exactly what you need. That's the most important step to this. The second piece you can do if you feel like you need to, and this is another piece, is you can just delete everything that's below it. So for example, if you think you've got some old legacy phantomness floating around in the file somewhere, just do a huge select down, couple hundred rows or something, right click, delete. Nothing, it doesn't look like anything was deleted, but that just ensures that if you were using a document that was maybe created in an Excel 10 years ago, and because it works, we just kept using it, there might be some phantomness floating around in there. And that's just a good way to get rid of it if there is. So we've done that, I've saved it. Now back in Revit, we can use Schedule Excel to bring it all home. So with Schedule Excel, we click Add, open on this set to go find our document and bring it into our project. So I've saved mine somewhere else this time. Come down here to this file, and it was this one, 1236. Hit open, here it is. My messy formatting and all. We'll go to my graphic options and make sure it matches. Or you can do some overrides if your formatting isn't any good. You can do some overriding here if you choose. But here's the setting where it says use the print area on a worksheet. And if no print area is defined, the entire worksheet gets brought in. So that's why, if you forget to make sure this box is checked, you get everything, which is why it's nice to quickly delete all the quote unquote empty data below, just to make sure there's no legacy objects. But this is here by default. So as long as your print area is defined, you should be okay. I'm gonna hit okay. We're gonna call it residential unit summary, and I can make a schedule out of it. I could also make a drafting view and a separate step. If your preference is a drafting view, just make sure that is set. I prefer schedule, and I think it goes a little faster if you do it as a schedule too. Then there you have it. I brought it in. It's here. Matches exactly what I had in my sloppy Excel file, but the data's there. The data worked. The formulas also worked. And now I can, oops, wrong tab. Now I can build out a new sheet. And here's my schedule, drag and drop it onto the sheet. And there you have it. So that's the process, that's the workflow for taking your room data into a custom built spreadsheet that has a bunch of formulas built into it, and getting that custom built spreadsheet into a Revit view, whether it be a schedule or a drafting view. And then if things change, because designs change, room names and things like that, level names potentially, they do change. You just have to run it again. And by running it again, you get another document potentially, or you update the original one, depending on how you set it up. And after that, you can, if you just overwrite the document that you had, you can simply come to Schedule Excel and click Update. And if you've updated the original document with a new version of it, it'll tell you this is no longer up to date, and you can manually click Update. Or if someone did this tonight after hours, when I come in the next day and open this project, auto update is set. So it will automatically reload that link, and I will always have the latest version of that file. So that covers it. I hope this is meaningful and you see some value to this, and the data set is available if anyone is interested in it. Just ask, send an email to info@ctcsoftware.com, and we are more than happy to send you a copy of this data set to learn from. And with that said, I appreciate you all. Thank you all for coming today. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Take care and have a great day.